Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Moonbound Silence. Episode 12. Chapter 58 to 63. Irene's POV. Where the hell are you taking me? I shouted at this star. Shut up and just come with me. God, you're so annoying. Let me go. Ugh, what does Keaton see in you anyway? Keaton? Oh my god, are you another one those desperate she-wolves obsessed with Keaton? Please, I wouldn't him with a 10-foot pole. She shouted at me. She was dragging me further and further away from the castle, and I saw that we were heading south. South, where Sarin is. You're taking me to Sarin, aren't you? I screamed and kept pulling my arm back, but she was stronger than me. I guess you're not as stupid as you look, she said with venom in her voice. I kept pulling my arm back and dragging my feet. I quickly mind-linked Keaton. Keaton, help! Where are you, Irene? Andrea is taking me to Sarin. I'm trying to fight her, but she's stronger than me. Keep fighting her, I'll direct my brother, Owen, and Hugo to go to Sarin's cottage. Maddox and I are in wolf form coming for you. Keep calm, baby, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Andrea must be really stupid. She probably thought I would be too afraid to mind-link Keaton, but what if she expected it and it's a trap? I didn't have time to think about it. She kept dragging me with her, and I kept putting up a fight, but then I received another link from Keaton. We see you. Don't panic and keep letting her drag you. My brother wants to catch Andrea in the act helping Sarin bring you harm. This will allow Jasper to punish her and anyone else involved. You're using me as bait? Don't you want them to pay for their crimes? Ugh, fine. Though I hated the thought of coming face to face with Sarin again, I honestly did think it was time for her and me to meet properly. I was going to stake my claim on Keaton. He was my mate, and mine alone. I finally stopped fighting Andrea and she dragged me along until I saw a rustic-looking cottage up ahead. It was isolated and looked older than the others several yards away. When we finally reached the cottage, the door opened and out came the Queen herself and another friend of hers I've never seen before. I honestly didn't know who the bigger asterisk was, her or Leila. Unfortunately, I couldn't openly compare the two since we're supposed to pretend we don't know what Leila has done. Is this her? Sarin asked Andrea, pointing at me. Yup, Andrea responded and threw me to the ground. I shot an evil look at her and then looked at Sarin. You're probably wondering who I am, she said to me. Actually, I know exactly who you are, Sarin. I spat her name in disgust. She looked taken aback that I knew who she was. But she looked at me as if she had never seen me before. What? Don't remember me? I asked her. Am I supposed to remember trash like you? I'm above you. Really? Then why are you living in the dump like this? I said, pointing at her cottage. Because you somehow slithered your way between my relationship with my mate. Your mate? I sarcastically asked. And who might your mate be? Don't play stupid with me, she said and gave me a backhanded slap to face, knocking me down. Keaton, you better have seen that, or I'm going to kick you for using me as bait. I said to myself. Now I'm going to ask you this once, and only once. I looked up from the ground. When did you meet Keaton? You should know, I said to her, getting to my feet. You were there when he and I first met. She glared at me and furrowed her brows. I'm guessing you don't remember. Allow me to refresh your memory. It was the night of the Luna ceremony, at the drink table, I saw her eyes dart back and forth before they got wider. You. That little slut that was flirting with him. I wasn't rooting with anyone, you psychotic. I was getting a drink. Don't lie to me. You knew then, didn't you? You knew you were his mate and you were trying to stake your claim on him in front of me, she shouted, grabbing me by the collar of my scrubs. I was only 17 back then. I didn't know him at all. But thanks to you, and your over-controlling nature, Kendrick, Milan, and Keaton apologized to me on your behalf, and that allowed Keaton to feel drawn to me. He reached out to me first. He would never. He was with me. We were having a baby together. Your son doesn't even belong to Keaton. I screamed and pushed her off of me. You were already at least 2 weeks pregnant before sleeping with Keaton, which means, your son belongs to another pack member, or perhaps your actual mate. Keaton is my mate. And I'm his. You're nothing. You're nothing but a slut who manipulated him. You're the reason why he got a paternity test done. You're right. I am. I screamed at her, making her gasp in shock. What did you say? I said you're right, I am the one who convinced him to get a paternity test done. The moment you started to scream at me that night and trying to stake your claim on Keaton as your mate, something felt off about you. Most pregnant she-wolves aren't that possessive of their mate, plus, neither one of you were marked. My suspicions were confirmed when Keaton told me you weren't his mate, and just some he accidentally got pregnant. That made even more suspicious of you because it's very rare and almost unheard of for a she-wolf to get pregnant by someone who's not their mate. So, when? Shut up. Shut the FK up. Tarine screamed at the top of her lungs, huffing and puffing. But I wasn't going to give the satisfaction of rolling over. So, when Keaton came and found me on my 18th birthday and claimed me as his mate, I accepted his claim, and I convinced him to get the test done because I knew that deep down, he was not the father of your pup, I told her coldly and all snobbish. You ruined everything. Keaton loved Killian. You took my pup's father away from him. You did that yourself. You took your pup's father away from him when you lied about the paternity and tried to trap Keaton. Ah! I'm going to kill you. Keaton is mine. Do you hear me? He is mine, she growled and started to shift into her wolf. I was about to shift into mine when Andrea and the other friend grabbed me and shoved me to my knees. Tarine finished shifting, and her wolf was a dirty brown color. She snarled and snapped her teeth at me. She took her stance to pounce while her friends laughed, but before she could, a massive growl shook the ground beneath us. I knew immediately who it was. Oh, this was in for it now. Chapter 59. Keaton's POV. When I got the mind link from Angelo that Andrea had basically kidnapped Irene from the hospital, I knew immediately Tarine found out about her and sent Andrea to do her bidding since she wasn't allowed near the castle anymore. I should have known that Irene wouldn't be safe for very long. My suspicions were confirmed when Irene finally reached out to me via mind link and told me that Andrea was dragging her towards Tarine's cottage. Maddox and I were in pursuit in wolf form because it would be faster. Thankfully, since they were in human form, we caught up to them quickly, and I made sure to let my girl know she wasn't alone. I wanted to make sure that we caught everyone in the act so no one would try and wriggle their way out of this. Tarine had some nerve trying to come after Irene knowing she's already on thin ice with the paternity crap. Let's not forget the fact that this crazy murdered my mother. When we made it to Tarine's cottage, we slowed down and hid by a nearby tree downwind. I made sure to mind link my brother. Bro, where are you? We're around the corner of the cottage, we can see everything. Have someone record what they're doing. We can't let anyone try and fake their way out of this. I'll be Ed if any of those bitches get away with trying to hurt my mate. I got you covered, little brother. Hugo is using his phone and is uploading the feed live to the PAX cloud that only ranked members can access. I sighed out in relief when he said that. Now, no one could alter the feed or try and fake their innocence. Maddox and I watched from our hiding SP0Ts. Tarine and Irene started to fight back forth. I was already on edge with this kidnapping attempt, but what really irked me and Chase the wrong way was when Tarine had the nerve to give Irene a backhanded slap. I wanted so badly to go over and wring her neck, but we needed more to implicate the others who were there. I knew one was Andrea, and I think the other's name was Sierra. All of them used to hang out with Melody, Michelle, and Leila. The fact that my brothers and Angelo's mates used to be friends with this psycho is beyond me. You! That little slut that was flirting with him! Tarine shouted. I'm guessing she finally remembered where she first met Irene. I wasn't rooting with anyone, you psychotic. I was getting a drink. Irene defended, which was true actually, but of course, Tarine and her inged-up way of thinking would never let herself believe that. Don't lie to me. You knew then, didn't you? You knew you were his mate and you were trying to stake your claim on him in front of me. Tarine shouted and then grabbed Irene by the collar of her shirt. My anger was starting to get the best of me the more I watched their altercation. I was only 17 back then. I didn't know him at all. But thanks to you, and your over-controlling nature, Kendrick, Milan, and Keaton apologized to me on your behalf, and that allowed Keaton to feel drawn to me. He reached out to me first. Irene shouted back. My girl could definitely hold her own. He would never. He was with me. We were having a baby together. Tarine screamed. We didn't need Werewolf hearing to hear her. That's how loud she screamed. Your son doesn't even belong to Keaton. You were already at least 2 weeks pregnant before sleeping with Keaton, which means, your son belongs to another pack member, or perhaps your actual mate. Irene deflected. Actual mate? Did Tarine have an actual mate? Keaton is my mate. And I'm his. You're nothing. You're nothing but a slut who manipulated him. You're the reason why he got a paternity test done. OSH, this was not going to be good. You're right. I am. Irene admitted. His was bad, this was very bad. Irene went on about how Tarine's actions that night they first met was what made her question everything, plus the fact that I had told her that Tarine wasn't my mate. Irene was letting everything out, and I couldn't blame her. Irene went on about how most females don't get pregnant unless it's from their mate, which is why she was suspicious from day one. Shut up! Shut up! Tarine screamed at the top of her lungs. I couldn't see Irene's face, but knowing my girl, she was not going to back down, and I'm sure she had a smug look on her face. She kept going on why she had her suspicions, that we claimed each other, and how she convinced me to the test done. You ruined everything. Keaton loved Killian. You took my pup's father away from him. You did that yourself. You took your pup's father away from him when you lied about the paternity and tried to trap Keaton. I watched as Tarine's anger was getting the best of her, and I knew this was going to end very badly. Maddox, we need to go. I whispered in a shout and we both shifted back into our wolves. Ah! I'm going to kill you. Keaton is mine. Do you hear me? He is mine. Tarine screamed and sure enough, she started to shift into her wolf. Maddox and I ran from our hiding SP0T, and Chase was on a rampage. We were a few yards away, but it felt like a few miles. I could see Sarin trying to shift, but Andrea and Sierra grabbed her, holding her down. Sarin got ready to pounce, and I knew I had to stop her. I don't know where it came from, but Chase let out the fiercest roar I had ever heard since I gained him. Which hasn't been very long, since I'm barely going to be 20. The growl alone shook the ground, and it made everyone stop in their place, especially Sarin. She froze in her SP0T and I sent her a mind link. You must have a death wish. Without letting her responded, I shifted back. Maddox stayed in wolf form and growled at Andrea and Sierra, who let go of Irene in fear. Irene got to her feet and walked over to me. I instantly put my arms around her. Baby, are you okay? I asked. I'm fine, you have some impeccable timing, I smirked and kissed her forehead. I heard a growl of pure jealousy and I look over at Sarin's wolf and glared at her. Shift! I commanded her. Even though my brother is the rightful beta of the pack, I still have beta blood in my veins, but that didn't stop her from defying me. Shift back now! I growled at her, but she didn't budge. As beta of this pack, I order you to shift back, came my brother's unmistakable beta tone. He rarely ever has to use it, but when he did, holy, he could be scary. Unfortunately for Sarin, hearing the command from the actual beta, she had no choice but to submit, so she finally shifted back. Owen, my brother called out. Owen immediately threw me a pair of shorts and a blanket at Sarin's head. She didn't even bother covering herself. What did I see in her to make me want to her? Seriously, she had no curves. I mean, she had a squared-shaped body. You have some nerve hiring your little pack of sluts to kidnap my mate, and bring her to you, I say, her gritting my teeth. I could see the anger in Sarin's eyes as she was practically staring swords at Irene, who was staring them right back. Owen, Hugo, take Andrea and Sierra back to the castle and place them in solitary confinement, my brother ordered. Wait. No. Beta. We didn't do anything. Sierra shouted as Hugo grabbed her. Let me go. This is Sarin's fault. Andrea shouted as Owen grabbed her. If I were the two of you, I'd shut your mouths. My brother shouted. We have everything on camera, and the feed has already been sent to the Alpha. Beta. We only did what Sarin told us to do. Sierra screamed. I said silence, he roared again. Thank the goddess I was never on his bad side. Sierra lowered her head and started to sob, but Andrea was staring daggers at my brother. This was just as stupid as Sarin. What are you waiting for? I said take them, he shouted at Owen and Hugo. Yes, Beta, they dragged the girls the car and drove off. Sarin, my brother started to task at her. You know, I was hoping I wouldn't have to see your face again, especially after what you tried to do to my baby brother, I scoffed when he called me that. I saw him lift his gaze, but I just whistled it off and looked at Irene. But I guess you're too stupid to stay out of trouble. You see, I don't take kindly to pack members breaking the interpack rules, and our laws. After all, I am the beta, it's my job to make sure the laws are being followed. I also can't stand it when someone tries to get in the way of the mate bond because they think that they're above the moon goddess. But what I can't stand the most, and what really makes my blood boil, is when someone tries to hurt the people I care about, he said really close to her face. Especially, when that person is a family member. I knew for a fact that he was talking about Mother at that point, but he was cryptic with her. Tell me, Sarin, what did you expect to accomplish by attacking Irene? I asked her. If thought that by getting rid of her would make go back to you, you're stupider than I thought. I didn't want you even when I did think your baby was mine. What made you think I would want you, knowing that he isn't? You never would have found out if wasn't for that," she screamed, pointing at Irene. "Wrong," my brother replied. "He would have, because Melody and I already suspected you were lying, and when we saw your pup had blonde hair, we knew without the paternity test, but it wasn't our place to say anything, at least not at the time, and there's the whole scent thing that my angel caught on to." "It wasn't your business," she screamed at him. "Anything that has to do with my brother is my business. Especially when a lying, selfish, conniving like you is trying to trap him and gain your pup a rank TLE, he shouted in her face, making her flinch. "I'm warning you, Sarin, if you ever try to hurt Irene again, I will not hesitate to kill you and make Killian an orphan," I shouted at her. She gave me the evilest stare, but it didn't faze me. "Don't think this won't go unreported to the elders, Sarin," my brother told her. "I'm officially placing you on house arrest until Jasper and elders decide your punishment. Whether that's banishment or death is up to them." "And what about my son? You're going to allow an innocent baby become a rogue? Don't even try to guilt-trip us with the innocence of your pup. If you really cared about his well-being, you would have stayed quiet, but no. You only care about yourself, which is why now your son will end up on the streets, and you only have yourself to blame," Irene shouted. "Just like your friends can't blame you for the choices that they made to help you today. They're going to be punished just like you, and unlike you, they don't have newborns to use as a lifeline." "Maddox." Maddox huffed at my brother, waiting for his command. "Sorry, but you're on babysitting duty. The only places she is allowed to go is her cleaning job and the store for food. She is not allowed to go anywhere else. If she even attempts to deter from this, arrest her and give her pup to the orphanage." Sarin's face lit up with fury at the sound of her son going to the pack orphanage, but that would also get her to stay home. Maddox huffed in understanding and circled around the cottage. He was more than likely casing the place to make sure couldn't escape from anywhere. After he was done, Maddox bowed his head, letting us know he was done and that things were under control. Kendrick, Irene, and I walked back to the castle. As we left, we could hear Sarin screaming and crying. "What are going to do to about Andrea and Sierra?" I asked my brother. "Leave them in confinement until Jasper gets back. He has something more pressing he has to deal with." "Does it have to do with Sarin?" I asked. "Everything he does is about Sarin now," he replied. "Irene, I'm honestly quite proud of how you handled yourself. Even knowing everything, you never once let it slip with Sarin." "It's not my place to say anything. And I promised the Alpha that I would keep it hush-hush. I know what she did to your mom is unforgivable, and now that there's a witness to her crimes, I'm hoping once the Luna comes back, everything will start to fall into place," she answered. "God, I loved this girl. Bro, you definitely got yourself a good one, though, not as good as my angel, but close enough." "Oh no. No comparing mates," Irene shouted between us. "I'm telling Aunt Grace if you two start argue, she threatens." That instantly made Ken and I stop, but we also couldn't help but laugh. "Baby, that's low," I tell her. "Serves you right for using me as bait," she shouted. Why did I have a feeling that she was not going to let me live this down? Jasper's POV. When I finally met Svetlana at the hotel, I decided to skip the valet and just park in the garage for now. She appeared in the garage and got in my car. "Alpha, you're late," she said as she closed the door. "I had a thorn in my HP to get rid of," I tell her. "Ah, I see that Leila still hasn't learned her lesson. No, and it's getting harder and harder to control my anger towards her. Well, hold on a little bit longer. Tell me, how are you going to know anything, if you don't know what Lorenzo looks like? As a witch, I am able to detect magic, light or dark. I can also sense any other supernatural beings, just like you. If someone is cloaked by magic I will know, and I will be able to say a small spell that will allow me to see past it. I just nodded my head. Do you have a picture of this Lorenzo? Here, I pulled out my phone and looked through my cloud and found a picture of Sarin and Lorenzo training together. When people asked me why I didn't access my cloud sooner when they were trying to tell me who Sarin was, my answer stumped everyone. My password is the day I knew Sarin was my mate and her birthday combined. Since both dates revolved around her, I couldn't remember my password until I got my memories back. Okay, I got it, she said after looking at the photo for a second. How about we circle back and valet? Let's go, I replied and started up the car. I drove out of the parking garage, circled the neighborhood twice, and then went back to the hotel and valeted the car. As we stepped out, I was greeted and handed my key to the valet guy. I went around the car and put out my arm for Svetlana for appearance reasons. She took her time looking at each valet person, and she looked closely at each one. Thankfully, there were other cars pulling in for valet services, and I was waiting for the guy to give me my stub. I felt her tense when she laid on eyes on one valet guy that just came back from parking a car. I heard her hum. Magic forces far and wide, drop the cloak so he can't hide, allow this witch to use herein, so she can see the true identity within. I see her smile and look up at me. We meet eyes and she winks. We make our way inside and away from the crowd. Once we're in a good SP0T away from the humans, I turn to her. So. I was right, Lorenzo is working to keep up appearances, she said with a smirk. So, maybe we follow him to get an idea of where Sarin is. No. What? Alpha, you said it yourself that this man has been alive for hundreds of years, he will know he is being followed. It is possible he already saw us and may get suspicious, or is weary because you obviously look like yourself. My point is, we have to tread carefully if you want to get your mate back. What are we supposed to do? I asked a little irritated. Well, you're a rich man with a lot of resources. Use them to your advantage. Might I suggest getting Lorenzo's name? I just lifted my brow at her. You know, for someone so smart, you really can be quite stupid, I let a growl towards her for the insult. Do you really believe that he would use his actual name while wearing a magical disguise? I dropped the attitude realizing she had a point. I suggest figuring out who is he right now, and then trying to follow digitally. I immediately took out my phone, called my head of security at the office. Mr. Valencia, what can I do for you? Lazarus, I'm going to send you a photo of someone, and I need you to figure out who he is. I want to know everything about him. Friends, family, address, the works. Yes, Mr. Valencia. Luz, I want this done in 48 hours. Yes, sir, I hung up the phone. I need a picture of this guy. Not to worry, she said and took my phone. She said a few words which I didn't catch, and sure enough, there was a photo of him on my phone. I guess having a witch around wasn't such a bad thing. Yet. Now that I knew where Lorenzo was, I was one step closer to finding Sarin. Chapter 60. Jasper's POV. When I got back after confirming Lorenzo worked at the hotel, and that Sarin was in fact still local, I felt better knowing she was close by. I expected to be able to have a nice dinner alone in my office when I walked in and work a little, but only one could dream. As soon as I walked in the door, Kendrick pulled me straight to the cellar. "What the hell, man? A situation occurred while you were gone," he said and kept dragging me. "What situation?" "You'll see." He dragged me down to the cellar where the dungeons were at, and as soon as Owen and Hugo opened the steel door, ear-piercing screams hit me like a air horn. I looked at Kendrick and he just held up his hands and gestured me to follow him down. The screams were loud, and I knew there was more than one. When we got down to the bottom of the stairs, I was surprised to see two familiar faces being T0'd by Maddox and Keaton. "What is going on here?" I roared, making Keaton and Maddox stop what they were doing. They both stood straight and bowed their head to me. "Alpha," they addressed me. I looked at Andrea and Sierra and they were both hanging by the arms from the ceiling with silver chains and their feet were dangling. Their shirts were both ripped open from the back. I saw WH.P. marks. "What the hell is going on? We don't typically T0RTURE females like this," I said to them. Keaton and Maddox kept standing at attention, but their eyes were on the girls. "Answer the Alpha!" Kendrick yelled at the girls. Tarine, made us, do it," Sierra whimpered. "Shut up, Sierra!" Andrea shouted. Obviously, she was the stupid one. "What did she make you do, Sierra?" I asked. She found out about the young betas, mate, and she wanted Andrea to. "Shut up!" Andrea shouted again. Keaton, my calling his name was all he needed to WH.P. Andrea again, making her scream. "Every time you interrupt Andrea, Keaton is going to WH.P. you." She struggled against her chains, but it was no use. "Continue, Sierra." She didn't say anything for a minute and looked at Andrea. "Don't worry about her. I'll make you a deal. You tell me what happened today, and I will show you leniency." "Why yes, Alpha," she replied and took a breath. She wanted Andrea to bring Irene to her when she found out that the young beta had his mate. She was jealous, she was pissed. "And why did she want to see Irene?" I asked. "She wanted to confront her about the DNA test. She wanted to know if Irene was the reason why it happened." "What did she do when she confirmed this information?" "She got more pissed. She blamed Irene, and Irene, she told Tarine that it was her own fault. Tarine got mad, and shifted to LL Irene. And how are you involved?" "Sierra, if you say more I swear." Andrea interrupted again and was met with a WH.P. to the back. Andrea and I, we held Irene on her knees, so Tarine could. "I see." I turned to face Andrea who was staring daggers at Sierra. "Andrea, is what she said true?" She looked off to the side and didn't answer. I nodded at Keaton who WH.P.'d her again, making her scream. "I won't ask again, Andrea. Is what Sierra said true? Were you an accomplice to the attempted murder of a ranked pack member?" "No. She's lying." Andrea spat. "Remember what I said about lying, Andrea?" Kendrick said and handed me a tablet. On the screen was a video set on pause. "Now, you have 3 seconds to tell the truth, because if the Alpha plays this video, you're inged." She just glared at us. 3, 2, 1, she still didn't say anything. "Don't say I didn't warn you." Keaton nodded his head and I hit the play button and watched the video. Sure enough, everything Sierra said was true. Andrea is the one who threw Irene in front of Sarin, and the entire conversation played out just how Sierra explained. Everything she claimed was the truth, even the fact that she held down Irene with Andrea so Sarin's wolf could kill her. I stopped the video when I had seen enough, and I looked at Andrea. I hated liars, and I hated disobedient pack members. What I hated the most was that these two bitches made an attempt on a ranked member's mate. Even though Keaton wasn't actually beta, he was still of beta blood, so he was treated just like a ranked member. Pack members were to show him just as much as respect as they would Kendrick. That also includes their mates. Sierra, because you told the truth, I'll spare your life, and you will be allowed to stay within the pack, but you are hereby banned from the castle. Just like Sarin, you are now an outcast. Yes, Alpha. Thank you, she whispered. And you? I turned to Andrea, her eyes now wide in fear. Your consequence is banishment. But my parents are here. You should have thought about that before you decided to lie to my face, I growl at her. I'm a merciful Alpha, which is why I gave you the chance to tell me the truth. Why do you think Sarin wasn't banished for the SHT she pulled on Keaton? Why do you think even though Sierra and you committed the same crime, she's only being outcast but still a part of this pack, still being given a roof over her head? I don't like to banish pack members unless absolutely necessary, and you made it absolutely necessary. Alpha, please, she begged. Too late. Alpha. Keaton, give her 50 more pings. 25 for being an accomplice, 25 for lying about it. Sir. Alpha, please. Then when you're done, escort her out of the territory without medical aid, she doesn't deserve it. Alpha. Maddox, give Sierra 25 more pings for being an accomplice. When you're done, take her to the pack hospital for medical treatment. When she's released, take her back to her family's cottage and pack her things. She will get her own place in the west on the other side of the lake in one of the single-room cottages. Yes, Alpha. Thank you, for sparing my life, Alpha. Thank you for telling the truth. I'm sure you've learned your lesson, Sierra. Yes, Alpha, I'm sorry. Apologize to Irene, she nodded. Before leaving, I turned back to Andrea and sent her a mind link. Before I banish you, I'll give you the third reason why you're being banished, Andrea. I know that you and Sierra also helped Leila almost kill Sarin when she first came here. I honestly should just execute you, but I won't because that would be letting you off too easy. Instead, I'm going to let the infection caused by the pings take your life instead. If you didn't know, the PS are laced with silver and wolfsbane, and the more it penetrates open wounds, the more the poison seeps into the bloodstream. I saw her eyes widened with pure fear and shock at what I said. Again, I'm normally a very merciful Alpha. And even though Sierra was also involved, she told the truth about this incident, so I figured she would have told the truth about the Sarin situation as well, which is why she's still being beaten before getting medical help. Andrea Weston. I, Jasper Valencia, Alpha of the Blue Lake Pack, hereby banish you. You are henceforth considered a rogue and an enemy of our lands. If you are seen within anywhere near the territory, you will be executed on sight. I felt her connection with the pack break, and I left the cellar. Before I could even make it up the stairs, I could hear their screams echoing. I got the feeling that Maddox was going easy on Sierra though, but Keaton sure as hell was not going easy on Andrea. I walked through the castle with Kendrick on my tail. Hey, do you want to see Michelle before going upstairs? Kendrick asked. Yeah, that's a good idea, I replied. Did she give birth yet? Don't think so, Dot hasn't come back yet. I just nodded my head and we both headed for the hospital. When we got there, the door was closed. Jasper. Ken. We both turned around and saw Jason, Milan, and Irene in the waiting room. Any news? Kendrick asked. Not yet, but we saw Dr. Andrews go in about 30 minutes and hasn't come back out, so we're thinking that she's ready to push, Milan answered. Kiddo, I heard what happened, are you okay? I asked Irene. Yes, Alpha, I'm perfectly fine. Good, can't have anything happening to you. I don't think Sarin would forgive me. Sarin, they all asked. I just nodded. I'll explain to everyone later, but for now, let's be here for Angelo and Michelle, they all nodded. Babe, where are your parents? I'd expect your mom would be in the delivery room, Jason asked Milan. Nah, she just wants visitation rights. She's not into the whole birth thing. What about Michelle's parents? Irene asked. Michelle doesn't have parents, she was an orphan, Kendrick replied. She was? I had no idea. Yeah, Michelle is one of many, Milan said. You see, the pack has an orphanage on site for any pups that lose their parents in battle or are found on the street with no pack and no family. As long as they are under the age of 16, we let them stay with us. I mean, I knew we had an orphanage, but I didn't know Michelle was one, Irene answered. Michelle, Leila, Hugo, Maddox, a few of the other castle guards, and some of our best fighters are from the orphanage. What happened to Michelle? How did she end up an orphan? Irene asked. We don't know, she doesn't talk about it. All I know is that a guard found her when she was about 8 or 9. She had just wandered into the pack territory, and this was obviously before we had gates and stuff. Because my grandfather started the orphanage, the guard took Michelle to the pack hospital and got her checked out. She was malnourished and had a lot of injuries. Once she was better she was put in the orphanage, I answered. Irene frowned and just nodded her head. He's here, we heard shouting. We all came out of the waiting room, and Angelo was practically singing. He's here. He's here. My boy is here. Oh well, I guess that answers that, Milan said. Looks like I have a nephew. Gamma, aren't you and your brother twins? Irene asked. We are, and I know what you're thinking. Yes, we thought they were going to have twins too, but I guess not, she replied. Well, I guess as a new auntie, I should go say hello to my nephew, she said and walked towards a still shouting Angelo. Give Angelo and Michelle my regards, I tell Jason and he also walks off. Oh, I just got a mind link from Keaton, and I think he's a little right now. I should go comfort him, Irene said and gave her goodbyes as well. I never asked you, what did you punish Tarine with? I asked Kendrick. I put her on house arrest. She's only allowed to go her cleaning job and grocery shopping. Maddox was supposed to be watching her, but he wanted in on the punishment of the others, so he found 3 other guards to watch Tarine. I just nodded my head. I turned to leave, and he followed. Shouldn't you go to my sister? I asked him since Melody was still in the hospital room with Michelle. Nat, I have my own beautiful baby girl to go to. Well, that's assuming your mom ever decides to give her back, I couldn't help but laugh. Even my dad has to fight her for visitation, I laughed even harder. Well, now I know if I ever get my girl and my pup back into this castle, we will never have to worry about a babysitter, I said to him. We made our way through the castle, and Kendrick decided to try and steal Leanne away from my mom while I went to my office. When I got there, the last person I wanted to see was waiting. "Leila, what are you doing here? Where have you been, Jasper? You've been gone for 5 hours. I told you had work to take care of. I called your office. They said you never showed up there." "What? Why are you calling my office? Why did you lie? Leila, have you forgotten who I am? I am the alpha of this pack." I growled at her, making her flinch. "Where I go, and what I do is none of your concern. Why are you being such an asshole to me? All I've ever done is love you." I just ignored her and opened the door to my office. "This is about her, isn't it? I've never had the urge to hit a woman, but Leila was getting on my last nerve. But I had to play as if I still didn't remember Sarin." "About who? What are you whining about?" "That Sarin. You said it yourself, you don't know her, she's not your mate." "That's right. Then why are you pushing me away? I'm right here, Jasper. How many times do I have tell you, I don't see you that way?" "Leila, it was one time. I was drunk, I was lonely, and I was frustrated because I hadn't found my mate. You weren't easy. That's all." "You don't mean that," she cried. If I hadn't known what she had done to Sarin and to me, her tears would actually mean something, but all they're doing is making her look even more ridiculous. And I was really starting to hate her. I grabbed her by the shoulders and hard. "Jasper, why you hurting me? Get this through your head, Leila, there was nothing between us, and there never will be. The only person in this world that will ever have my heart and take their place as my Luna is my mate. I don't care where she is, whoever she is, or how long it takes to find her. I will love her and only her. So stop." I pushed her away and slammed the door in her face, locking it. That was very subtle. I turned around to see Svetlana. I knew that Mutt had issues, but I didn't think she was completely crazy. "You realize this is partially your fault, right? You're the one that aided her in my kidnapping and put a spell on me," I said and sat down in my chair. "Well, as I said before, I did not know your mate was a primordial. Had I known, I never would have helped that crazy asterisk," she said and sat down on my couch. "So, where do we go from here?" "We wait for my head of security to get back to me about Lorenzo and his alias. For now, we play dumb, and pretend that everything is somewhat normal." "And what about Sarin? Do you still want me to talk to your elders?" "Yes, I do, but after we find Sarin. Sarin will also need to be a witness since she's the one who heard Sarin's thoughts in the first place." "Well then, if there is nothing for me to do right now, then I will take my leave. I will be back in 2 days, hopefully. Your security man will have found information on Lorenzo that will be of some help. Good night, Alpha." "Good night." She teleported out and left me to my thoughts. I mind-linked Mrs. Williams to have an Omega bring my dinner to my office. While I was waiting, I pulled out Sarin's goodbye letter and the ultrasound of our pup. Reading her letter again only made my heart break even more. It was littered with her tear stains as she wrote it, and I could see where mine had fallen the first time I read it. Having my memories and reading it now makes this so much harder. I still can't believe all the horrible things I did to her, yet she was willing to forgive me for everything. But seeing me FLRT with other women was the one thing she couldn't handle. It only reminded me of what I had promised her when I first brought her home. A promise that I broke, unintentionally, but still broke. I clutched her letter and the ultrasound to my chest and prayed to the moon goddess that all of this would be fixed when I found her and that she would forgive me. I honestly don't know how much longer I can go on without her. Chapter 61. Sarin's POV. Alas, I have found you, I heard a creepy voice. I moved my head around in my sleep and thought I was hearing things, so I fell back into my slumber. But that didn't last long when I felt someone touching my face. My eyes shot open, and I found a man standing over me. "Who are you?" I shouted and blasted him with my telepathic powers. He went flying across the room, but when I looked around, I didn't recognize the room I was in, only because it was dark, and the only thing I could see was the bed I was in. "You are very powerful, I like that. I believe you and I will make powerful offspring," he says. Offspring. I stand to my feet, but something is off. I look down, and I see that I'm standing on nothing. It's a black hole beneath me, and what's worse is that I'm no longer pregnant. What the hell? "My, you are quite lovely, better than the other two," the creepy man said. "Who are you? Where is my baby?" I shouted. The moment I did, I heard a baby cry. I turned around and saw a crib several feet away. I ran across the empty space towards and see a baby with light brown hair lying down next to a stuffed black wolf. "Is this my pup?" Upon instinct, I picked up the baby and held it close. I couldn't tell if my pup was a boy or a girl, but the moment that I picked him or her up, I knew immediately that he or she was mine. I could just feel the bond between mother and child between us. "Put the child down, and come with me. Get away from me!" I shouted and blasted him again. I held him down with my power and started to scream from "Help, William! Olivia! Help!" I screamed but no one came. "Scream all you want, I will find you, and we will be together. And that abomination in your arms will reap the consequences forever being born," the creepy man said. I watched as his eyes flashed red and he disappeared into a puff of black smoke. As soon as he was gone, I looked down at my baby and I watched as their eyes opened, and they were diamond blue like Callie's. Over my dead body, I kissed my baby and held them close again. "Sarin!" I heard someone call my name. "Sarin!" I felt someone shaking me and trying to take my baby. "No! Don't take my baby! No! Sarin! Wake up! No! Don't take my baby!" I screamed again. "Sarin! Ah!" I shot up and held my chest as if my heart were about to explode. "Sarin!" Someone grabbed my shoulders and I jumped. I looked at the person in front of me and I realized it was William. I let out a huge sigh of relief. "Sarin, what's wrong?" "Nothing, it was just a nightmare, it wasn't real." "Sarin, it must have been some nightmare for you to shake the entire condo." "I what?" I looked at him. "You may have been shaken the entire building." "T. Sarin, tell me what you saw." "Saw? William, it was a nightmare." "Sarin, I don't believe that it was. If your powers were activated, it meant that your subconscious was fully awake, which means, you weren't actually sleeping." "What?" "I think you may have had a premonition, Sarin. But I don't have that power, at least I didn't before. The power of premonition comes when you least expect it to. Now, tell me what you saw." I was sleeping, but then I heard a creepy voice. I thought I was hearing things, so I turned over to go back to sleep, but then I felt someone touch my face. When I woke up, there was a creepy guy looking at me, and I blasted him with my powers. Then I heard a baby cry, and inside the crib was a baby. It was my baby, and I was holding him or her, and when I did, the creepy guy said he was going to have me no matter what, and that he was going to kill my baby. He also said something about having offspring with me, then he disappeared in a puff of black smoke, but not before his eyes flashed red. Sarin, that was most definitely a premonition, only you were in your own body when it occurred. What? I just looked at him like he was insane. William, who was the creepy man? Sarin, that was more than likely Alessandro, and what you were experienced is what's called an inner body premonition. Your current soul transported itself into your future self when he finds you. I felt my heart stop when he said that. But, from what your premonition just showed, it won't be until after you have your pup. And if you were powerful enough to blast him to make him run, it means that you do eventually come into your full powers. Wait, but you said that can only if Jasper is. I didn't even finish what I was going to say when he just started nodding his head. It looks like my having taken you from Blue Lake may have given you more time. When I had my premonition of Alessandro finding you, you were still very much pregnant, which means, Olivia's magic is concealing you very nicely. It's giving him a hard time tracking you down. But he finds me either way and now my pup is in danger. Sarin, remember when I said we have a premonition only when we're supposed to? I nodded my head. It's because it gives us time to plan, and change the outcome. I just gave him a look. And do not bring up your family again, Sarin. I already told you, by the time I got that one it was too late. I scoffed and turned my back to him. I lied back down on my side just wanting to go to sleep again. Sarin, bear in mind that your premonition will come true if you had an inner body experience. I shifted my eyes to look in his direction without making actual eye contact. I felt him get up from my bed and heard my door slide open and closed again. I held my stomach and prayed to the moon goddess and every other higher power there is that my pup would always be safe. I would gladly give up my life if it meant that my baby would live happy and healthy. Jasper's POV. Ring 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 ring. Hello. Mr. Valencia? Sir, it's Lazarus. What? Luz, it's 2 in the morning. Sir, you said you wanted me to call you as soon as I got the information on the valet driver. You already got the information. I have enough that I think you're going to want to know. I sat up and rubbed my face of my sleep. Give me a second. I tiredly walked to my office down the hall, turned on the lights, locked the door behind me, and turned on my computer. Email me the results. I already have, sir. You should have received them by now. Alright, hold on. My computer booted up completely and I opened my inbox. Sure enough, there was an email from Lazarus with an attachment. I opened it up and saw it was only 5 pages long. What? Luz, why are there only 5 pages? Sir, I'll give you the play-by-play, are you ready? Yes, get on with it. His name is Wayne Campbell, he's 47 years old, and works valet at the hotel, which you already know. He has a wife by the name of Celeste, she is 45 and is a stay-at-home wife. They have no children, he explains while I'm scrolling through the file. Something catches my eye, and I stop. I scroll back up when I see the brunette from the hotel. Who's the young brunette? According to my intel, she is their niece. Her name is Megan Campbell. Her parents are deceased a car accident. She's also about 6.5 to 7 months pregnant. Any other next of kin for the girl? None whatsoever, however, sir, there is something off about this family. What's that? Their ident ties only go back a few months. There is no record of Wayne and Celeste Campbell anywhere in the greater Detroit area that matches their description, and that includes Megan. It's almost as if their ties are fake. They could also part of the WIT SEC program. I highly doubt that. If they were in witness protection, Wayne wouldn't be working. He'd be getting paid in cash by the government, I replied. Do you know where they live? Yes, sir. I hacked into the state of Michigan DMV database and found that they live in a condo about 20 minutes north of downtown in Royal Oak. I'm currently outside the complex now, and sir, something strange happened a few minutes ago. What's that? The entire building shook, and only that one building. Hearing that made it even clearer to me that this Megan girl is Sarin. She must have shaken the building with her powers. That's the only thing that made sense. Okay, I got it. Just keep an eye out, and I want you to concentrate on the girl. Sir. Don't ask questions. Just do it. Yes, sir. I hung up the phone and looked at the address. 111 North Main St Unit 306 Royal Oak. She's been so close all this time, and yet it seems as if she is worlds away from me. Will we get mate back? I don't know, Blade, but I will do whatever it takes to get them back. Sarin, Callie, and our pup. All of them. I will grovel on my knees and you will submit to her if you have to. You are telling me, an alpha wolf to submit? To her? A female? You do realize that she's more powerful than we are, right? She can easily put us on our A*S if she wanted to. You told me to snap out of it when we were under the spell. Why weren't you affected? I was, but as the good doctor said, our mark still resided on her neck, and I knew it was from us. Why didn't you tell me? I couldn't. I wanted to and I tried to, but the words wouldn't form. I believe that the spell was preventing me from doing so. That is why I was trying to tell you to stop hurting her. Now is not the time for name-calling, Mutt. I know what happened was wrong, but you can't put the full blame on me. I was under the spell of dark magic, no thanks to that selfish Leila. What is your plan for her? We share a mind, I'm sure you know exactly what I have in store for her. I do, I just want to hear you say it. Blade retreated to the back of my mind and I could just see his wolf-like smirk as he pictured the pain we were going to put Leila through when I got Sarin back in my arms. I let out a deep sigh, and I went back to my room. I figured there was no point in going back to sleep since morning training was in an hour. I decided to let Blade out for a morning run before going to training. Ash's POV. I couldn't believe that the elders sent an investigator to my pack. They didn't give us any warning, the investigator just showed up a few days ago and has yet to leave. I don't know what he is trying to prove, but he showed up before we could dispose of all the humans. I couldn't just dispose of 50+ human bodies all at once, it would bring on too much suspicion. And I couldn't just let them all go. They knew about werewolves now, and I couldn't allow them to tell human authorities that our kind existed. This was all Emma's fault. She was the one who insisted I side with Leila to get Sarin back to Blood Moon. My sister hated Sarin with a passion, and I knew the only reason why she wanted Sarin back was that she wanted to T0RTURE her again. I wanted Sarin back to teach her a lesson in rejecting me. Ever since Sarin left, Kano hasn't spoken a word to me. The only time I ever even notice his existence is when he is itching to go for a run. Even when in wolf form, he will completely take over and won't say a word. Knowing that Sarin was no longer at Blue Lake gave me hope that she would eventually just find her way back here. Valencia didn't want her anymore, and as long as that witch never reversed the spell, it would always stay that way. I would give Sarin time to come to her senses, and when she came groveling back to me, I was going to punish her for leaving me for that ingrate Valencia. But for now, I had to make sure that this elder didn't go snooping in parts of the territory he wasn't supposed to. Alpha Ash, where is your father? The investigator asked. Why do you want to know? I asked him, annoyed. There are parts of the investigation that revolve around him and his time as Alpha. Where is he? He said in a demanding tone. Don't use that tone with me, I shouted. You will be wise to watch your tone with me, pup. I'm an elder, and you are nothing but a low-level alpha, he said as his eyes turned black. As much as I wanted to rip his throat out, I knew I was no match for an elder. Even though they were older, they were powerful, and even alphas were not a match for them. Fetch Eric, he commanded. I mind-linked my father. Dad. What is it, Ash? The investigator wants to speak with you. Why? How should I know? He's a elder, just get over here. I blocked him out before he could even reply. My dad complained about everything ever since he stepped down. The last 7 months have been hell because of his constant whining and bitching that he gave me the pack too soon. He was honestly starting to get on my last nerves. After a few minutes of waiting, my dad finally came to my office where the investigator and I were waiting. Took you long enough, I tell him as he sits down. Don't get smart with me, Ash, he spat back. Gentlemen, a little professionalism if you please, the investigator said to us. I wanted this gone already. Why did you ask to see me? My dad asked him. I need to get some clarification on the challenge that occurred between you and the Alpha of the Iron Hollow, the late Gideon Calloway. Why? That's old news, and it was cleared with the elders when it happened. I understand, but there are a few loose ends that need to be cleared up. Like what? I asked. The reason behind the challenge for one, the investigator responded. I wanted their land, my father replied. And I wanted to increase my pack in numbers. Iron Hollow had plenty of worthy fighters. Is that so? The investigator asked and nodded his head as he jotted down some notes. Let me ask you this then, if that was the case, why KLL the entire pack and leave their land to succumb to the ravage of time? Simple, after the challenge, they didn't submit. They retaliated. Really? The investigator asked but didn't seem to be buying my father's answers. I honestly didn't know why he had challenged Iron Hollow back then either, no one really does now that I think about it. Eric, is it true that you fancied the Luna of Iron Hollow? Excuse me, my dad answered. What? I asked looking at my dad. What are you? What does that have to do with anything? My asked. So, are you admitting to the rumors? The investigator asked, and all I could do was look at my dad. Why would he like another woman when my mom was his mate? I'm not admitting to anything, my dad said defensively. I'm just trying to gain some insight into the challenge. You say you wanted land and numbers, yet you LLED the pack and you left the land alone. Your reasons behind the challenge are not sound, and the elders wonder if the challenge held an ulterior motive. What other reason would there be? My shouted, standing to his feet. I had never seen him so defensive before. This was unlike him. Eric, if the rumors of you fancying Luna Megan are true, then is it possible that you challenged Gideon not for his pack, but for his Luna instead? The investigator asked with an as of matter-of-fact tone. Though I can't say I blame you. Luna Megan was after all an alpha herself. What? I asked in shock. Sarin's mom was also an alpha? That would make Sarin a true alpha. I lost out on a true alpha as my mate, and that Valencia got have her instead. It was no secret that Megan was courted by many. She was beautiful, she was kind-hearted, and she was powerful. Many alphas wanted her as their Luna regardless if she was their mate, the investigator said. But alas, Megan ended up with Alpha Gideon, her true mate. That scum didn't deserve Megan. Megan was mine. I deserved Megan. I courted her before anyone else, my father shouted. What did he just say? I even rejected my mate for her. Yet she wouldn't do the same for me. She chose that mutt over me. Dad, what? I shouted at him. What do you mean you rejected your mate for Sarin's mom? You rejected Mom. Alpha Ash, it appears that you are unaware of the truth, the investigator said. I just looked at him in confusion. Your mother is not father's mate, my eyes widened in shock. I looked at my dad whose eyes black, and he was practically shaking. Dad, what is he talking about? What does he mean that Mom isn't your mate? He didn't answer me. Dad! I roared. Do I have to spell everything out to you? Your mother is not my mate. I was forced to take her as my chosen mate by your grandfather in order to get the pack. The mate I rejected got a second chance, and the love of my life, Megan, was given to that good-for-nothing mutt Gideon. I deserved Megan. I did. I've been in love with Megan since I was 18, and she chose him. Dad, what? Tell me, Eric, were your feelings towards Megan so strong that you felt it necessary to challenge Alpha Gideon, the investigator? He didn't deserve her. I was going to get her one way or another. So, yes. I challenged Gideon for Megan's hand. I knew Gideon was no match for me. Killing him would be too easy. Then Megan would be mine and I could get rid of Nicole and my sorry excuses of offspring and have a real family with the woman who was rightfully mine. But no. Megan only loved him. After killing him, she attacked me. She attacked me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dad, are you saying you challenged Iron Hollow with the intent to kill their Alpha? All because you wanted his Luna. What do you think, you stupid boy? He shouted at me. Well, that's all I needed to hear, the investigator said and closed his books. Just so you know, this entire conversation was recorded. I have your confession on record, Eric. Alpha Ash, you are hereby ordered by the elders to hand over your father. What? Your father just admitted to premeditated murder and concealed it in the form of a challenge. The challenge is now being considered void, therefore, your father will be charged with the slaughter of the Siler Lake Pack, as well as the unlawful imprisonment of their only heir, Ryan. I slumped down in my chair and looked at my father, who looked like he had just seen a ghost. I knew that his anger would get the best of him someday. Using a challenge to get back a woman that wasn't even his mate, how pathetic. You're one to talk. You're doing the same thing. Hypocrite. Kano. What is your deal? You haven't spoken to me in months, and the first thing you say to me is that I'm a hypocrite? You have no room to judge your father because what you've done is far worse. I was going to say something, but he blocked me out. Stupid wolf. What is the point of having a wolf counterpart when they just ignore you? Alpha Ash. Did you hear me? The investigator shouted, stirring me from my thoughts. Hey! Your guards. Summon them now, he commanded. Elders always act as if they're better than everyone. I mind-linked 2 of my guards and they immediately came to my office. You 2 will escort Eric Patterson to the Council of Elders. They both stood there speechless and looked at me. Do not look to your Alpha for permission. I am an elder and I gave you a direct order, he commanded, shaking the room. They immediately grabbed my father, who tried to fight against them. "Unhand me! I order you to unhand me at once," he shouted at them. "Eric Patterson, you can either go with your dignity, or you can go in shame, it's up to you." "What's going on?" my mom shouted as she came into my office. "Honey, why are they arresting you?" "Dad," my sister shouted behind her. "Nicole Patterson," the investigator shouted at her. "Were you aware of your mate's crimes?" "Crimes? What crimes? What is going on?" my mother yelled. "Were you or were you not aware of your mate's actions in the premeditated murder of the Iron Hollow Alpha?" "What?" "Mom," I got her attention and walked over to her. "The challenge against Iron Hollow, Dad admitted to challenging their Alpha to take their Luna." "What?" She looked at my father with pure hatred. "You what?" She ran over to him and started to hit him in the c.hest. "You wanted her that much? That stupid Megan. You wanted her so badly that you challenged Gideon for her. You sick bastard. Why was I never good enough? I gave you everything," she screamed at him. "All I did was laugh at her." "You," he sneered at her. "I never wanted you. You were forced on me. I only took you because I wanted my pack, but I never wanted you. You did nothing for me. You are nothing to me. The only way I could even bother being in bed with you is having to pretend you were her. I hate everything about you. You're disgusting. I'd do anything for Megan. I would have killedu and these mutts you call our children had she asked me to." He spat at my mother, making my sister gasp. I punched my father square in the jaw. "Take him to the elders!" I shouted at the guards. No one disrespected my mother that way. The fact that he had no problem admitting he would have killed us so easily made my skin crawl. To think I was related to him. Again, you're a hypocrite. You're keeping humans chained up and killing them one by one. You're just as sick as he is. Kano growled at me before blocking me out again. "This investigation isn't over, Alpha Ash. There are still several other things I have to investigate, so don't get comfortable." Chapter 62. Jasper's POV. I was sitting in my office going over the files that Lazarus sent me. I couldn't stop looking at Sarin, or should I say, Megan. I had her in my arms, and I didn't even know it. Whatever cloaking spell was being used was also masking her scent and her mark, which is why Blade didn't recognize her either. I honestly wondered if Sarin would forgive me once it was time to bring her home. It was strange, looking at Sarin's alias made me realize that it didn't matter what skin she was in, she would always be beautiful. Megan was beautiful, and I thought about that the moment I saw her, not even knowing she was Sarin at the time. I slightly chuckled to myself, realizing she named her alias after her mom. I kept staring at her photo when my thoughts were interrupted. "Yo, you wanted to see us?" Kendrick said, coming in with Jason behind him. "Yeah, close the door and lock it." They came over and sat down in front of me. "What's up?" Jason asked. "What I'm about to tell you stays between the three of us, for right now, understood?" They both nodded. "I found Sarin." "What?" they both exclaimed. "Where is she? Why haven't you gone to get her?" Kendrick shouted. "Is she okay? How's the pup?" Jason shouted as well. "Slow down," I tell them while using my hands to gesture them to calm down. "I will tell you guys everything, but I need you guys to stay calm while I do." They both gathered themselves and took deep breaths and got ready for a long story. "I actually found her on accident." "Hey," they both replied. "I found her during the weekend of the convention." When I got there, I saw a young brunette sitting at the table where the company's booth was supposed to be set up, and I just stared at her while she was basically taking a nap. She was pregnant and everything. Wait, Sarin is blonde? Kendrick said. Jason smacked his arm for interrupting me. Sorry, continue. Anyway, she woke up and came face to face with me. Seeing a young pregnant girl made me think of Sarin automatically, but as you both know, I didn't have my memories during the weekend of the convention. They both nodded. Turns out this brunette was Sarin in disguise. Both of their eyes widened. As you both know, Lorenzo knows a good witch, and it appears that he reached out to her to help him hide Sarin in plain sight. What do you mean by plain sight? Jason asked. Sarin is still local. What? They both shouted. Yeah, I just nodded. Svetlana figured out who the witch is that's helping them, and we were able to track down Lorenzo. Turns out, he works as a valet at the hotel where the convention was. I think that's why Sarin was there. She was at the convention because Lorenzo must have invited her. After all, it was an open-door event. Anyway, at the time not knowing that this pretty brunette was Sarin, I asked her to clear out of the way and she tried to leave, but she ended up running straight into Angelo and almost fell. I caught her, and I actually felt the pup kick. And man, can I say, my pup kicked hard. Actually, that's not surprising, Kendrick said. Sorry, I'm not trying to hijack your story, but when Mel was about 3 or 4 months pregnant, I remember I would always touch her belly, and Leanne would kick really hard. Almost as if she were reacting to my touch. I asked my dad about it and he said that the pup can feel the presence of their father when they're near and will react to their touch. Mel actually hated it because it would hurt her. So, you're saying that even though I couldn't recognize Sarin, my pup recognized me? I asked. Yeah, he replied with one word. I just nodded my head. Anywho, Svetlana and I went back to the hotel when she theorized that either the witch or Lorenzo would need to have a job to keep up with appearances, and I had remembered being stared at by one of the valet guys. I originally brushed it off, but after hearing what Svetlana had to say, I figured it was a good place to start, especially if they're all cloaked in disguises. Sure enough, I was right. The valet guy was Lorenzo, and Svetlana was able to see through the magical barrier shielding his identity. I got Lazarus to look into him, and he found that Lorenzo and the witch whose name is Olivia are living with their niece. Sarin, they both said, and I nodded. When Lazarus sent me the dossier, I saw the picture of this said niece, and it was the same brunette from the convention. That's how I was able to confirm it was Sarin. I turned my computer around to show them what Sarin looked like right now. That's a pretty good disguise, Kendrick said. Hold up, Jason said, taking a closer look. Does that say her name is Megan? Yeah, she gave her alias her mother's name, I answered, smiling. Okay, so tell us why you haven't gone to get her if you know where she is and who she is. Kendrick asked. Because right now everyone thinks I still have no memory of her. If I try to get Sarin back too soon, we will lose the advantage we have over Leila and Blood Moon. They both nodded their heads. Plus, I don't want to spook Sarin. As of right now, she has no idea I know where she is, and for right now, I want to keep it that way. But didn't Svetlana say that you have to with her when she gives birth? Sarin just has over a month left in her term, right? He said to me. Yes, but this can't be rushed. When I do go get Sarin, I want to make sure that when I look her in the eyes, whether they're the green eyes of Megan or the chocolate eyes of Sarin, I want her to see that it's me, and the real me. The Jasper she loved and lost because of Leila. What do you have planned for Leila anyway? Jason asked. I'm going to be with Sarin when she gives birth, but I'm going to take Dr. Andrews to her, and have her give birth outside of the pack. Then, when she's back to her old self, and she's ready to be with me again, I'm going to bring Sarin back in the form of her alias and claim her as my new chosen mate. What? Jasper, you're going to piss off a lot of people, Kendrick said. And what the hell are you going to do about your pup? You can't just bring in a new girl who happens to be a single mother, Jason said using finger quotes around new girl and single mother. Actually, I'm going to lie and say that I got Megan pregnant during the time I didn't remember Sarin. Dude, that's going to piss off your parents. I know it is, but I need to show Leila that no matter what happens in this universe, I will never make her my Luna. What if that plan doesn't work? What if Sarin won't go along with it? Jason asked. Then I let Sarin decide on what she wants to do. Either way, I'm not bringing Sarin back until after our pup is born. No one knows Sarin is pregnant except us, my parents, and a select few. Even Angelo and Michelle don't know Sarin is pregnant, and I want to keep it that way. Sarin and our pup's safety is of the utmost importance, and I will be Ed if anyone tries to hurt them or keep me from them. Plus, Sarin is still in danger with the vampire thing. I want her to stay hidden for as long as possible. We got you, man, Kendrick said. Yeah, we're behind 100%. As long as we get our Luna back along with the future of our pack safely, we don't care what she looks like, Jason added on. Remember, this stays between us, and Svetlana. No one else can know. And you two will not try and go find her. If she even senses either one of you, she's going to run. Don't worry, man, we got it, Kendrick answered. After Kendrick and Jason left my office, Svetlana came in and I showed her the files that Lazarus sent me. She said that she would keep an eye on Sarin's progress with her pregnancy and would let me know the closer it got to her due date. For the next 2 weeks, everything pretty much stayed the same, other than the fact that I finally went back to work. I realized that my office was closer to Sarin's condo, so I would drive by occasionally just to see if I could get a glimpse of her. And every so often, I did. I would see her on her balcony soaking up the sun with another woman who I assumed was Olivia. I tried my best not to go by too often since I didn't want to blow my cover. Leila has been pestering me non-stop and still tries to get me to sleep with her. Melody and Milan have been trying their hardest not to LOL Leila every time they catch her coming to my floor, or when they see us arguing. Svetlana has even said that Leila has been checking with her to see if the spell is still intact, which, Svetlana lies about. She still hasn't told me what her problem with Alessandro is, but she is definitely working with us, for now. Melody and I finally had a talk, and she's finally forgiven me for what happened. Sierra apologized to Irene after getting settled in her new cottage, and Andrea's parents confronted me with my decision to banish their daughter. After they heard what she had done, they both understood but asked to be released from the pack so they could go track her down, which I granted. That was one thorn out of my HP. With summer quickly approaching, and Sarin's due date only about 2 weeks away, my plan to win her back was going to be in play faster than I realized, and I was soon going to have to reveal myself to Sarin. Sarin's POV. The last couple of weeks have gone by without incident, but I couldn't help but feel as if someone were watching me. I did my best to shake off my paranoia, thinking that it was just my nerves from that crazy premonition I had. My pup has grown quite a bit. So much in fact, that Olivia had to use her magic to make it seem like I was smaller than I actually am when we went to the doctor for my last checkup. Thankfully, my pup is very active. He or she has definitely been more active on some days compared to others and I wasn't sure why. He or she always seemed to move around a lot in the mornings and at night on some days. Other days, he or she was just still and barely did anything. I haven't spoken to William much after everything that has happened. I honestly don't know if I can trust him anymore since he constantly seems to be keeping information from me. Olivia says that he's apologetic, but I would rather he tell me to my face rather than her. Hell, I'd settle for him telling me through his thoughts, but even that's too much for his ego. I was sitting in my room folding up baby clothes that I had just pulled out of the dryer when Olivia came into my room. Sarin. I looked up from what I was doing. How are you feeling? I'm as large as a whale, how the hell do you think I'm feeling? I snapped. Did I mention that hormones have gotten the better of me and Olivia and William both annoy me to no end? I'm not going to pretend I know how you feel, because I don't. What do you want, Olivia? Have you had a chance to think about if you're going to call Grace or not? We're running out of time. I dropped my hands to my knees while holding one of the baby anises. I knew I needed to hurry and make a decision to either call Grace or just go back to Blue Lake. I honestly didn't like either option and wished to the goddess that I could just live my life as a single mother at this point without all of the added drama, but knowing that the vampire will eventually find me, I needed my full powers, and that's what I hated the most. I hated that my life was decided for me before I was even born. That was the one thing that I was constantly angry at. I hated that Moon Goddess, the higher powers, and William at that, decided my fate millenniums ago. I didn't ask for any of this, and neither did my wolf. We may not have asked for it, Sarin, but it was a decision we made together. Remember, we had the option not to be who we are. I know, and that's what I hate. The fact that we had a window of opportunity to be normal. No, Sarin, you didn't. I looked up and saw William. Since it was the weekend, he didn't have to go to work. What do you mean I didn't? I asked him, confused. You didn't have a choice or a window of opportunity to be normal, he said and sat down on the bed next to me. Sarin, there are no prerequisites to being what we are. You are born a primordial, and you will always get your powers on the night of the full moon after your 18th birthday. What? But Jasper told me that. It's not his fault. He was lied to. Whatever ancient text the elders gave Ronan was filled with lies. You don't have to mate or be marked before the full moon, or even have to shift under it. As my descendant, you are born with your powers. They are just dormant until the full moon after your 18th birthday. Why would the elders lie? I don't think it was the elders' fault either. It's whoever wrote the text that twisted the facts. I don't think it was done in any ill will. Nonetheless, you were never going to be normal. I scoffed at the fact that my life was indeed chosen for me before I was born. Why? Why what? Why me? Why did I have to be a primordial? Why did the moon goddess and the other higher powers choose me? Why am I the chosen one? My life has been one roller coaster after another after my family was killed. My family kept me grounded and I was loved not just by parents, but by my nana, and the rest of the pack. I was this annoying little stick of dynamite, and my life was near perfect. Why did Eric kill my parents? Why did I become a slave? Why did I have to find my true mate only to lose him for a second time? Why? Why, William? This is partially your fault. You're my ancestor. You're the reason I'm alive and going through all this bullshit. Had you not lied to me from day one, or should I say omitted the facts as you and Olivia always like to say, I would be home right now. I was crying at this point and I wasn't sure if it was from hormones, me being pissed off, or a combination of both. Sarin, I don't choose when my descendants are born, and if I had a choice, none of you would be born. I've been alive since before Christ was born, and I have seen all of my descendants perish. None were given the gift of immortality, or as I like to call it, a curse. If I had a say in any of this, none of you would have been born, because then none of your ancestors before you would have died the way they did. Males being thrown out of their packs, hunted by witches and other supernatural creatures for their powers, females with broken bonds that result in their ultimate demise because of that vermin Alessandro, and then there's you. The chosen one. He paused and looked at me with guilt, admiration, and what looked to be pride. Sarin, if I had a choice in your lives, you never would have been born either. I would rather Alessandro suffer for eternity with never finding the bride he so desires than you see you have to go through any of this, but as I said, it's not my choice and I had no say in the matter. None of that excuses the fact that you lied to me all this time. Why couldn't you just tell me up front from the moment we met? I shouted at him. He couldn't answer and just hung his head. Sarin, Lorenzo did what he thought was best, and you honestly can't fault him for that. His whole life he has trained and built relationships with his descendants, and they all ended badly. He changed tactics with you to see if would be better. Does it look like it turned out any better? I shouted at her. You're right, it's not any better, William admitted. Because of the fact that it's not any better has made me realize that I have no say in the matter whatsoever. I changed my tactics to try and keep you out of harm's way. As I said, I would rather Alessandro live eternity alone than ever know of your existence, which is why I never bothered telling you or Jasper anything in detail, but I also never expected someone to rob him of his memories just as you conceived. I get the feeling all of that was going to happen either way. You said so yourself, you only get premonitions when you're supposed to, I said to him and wiped away the stray tears. Hormones. Be that as it may, I think a lot of it had to do with the choices I made, and for that, I am sorry. I should have told you everything up front, then maybe things wouldn't be the way are now, at least not as messed up the way they are. Sarin, you are like a daughter to me, and technically, you actually are, and I hate that things have turned out the way they have, but all we can do now is move forward, and be honest with each other, all three of us. He's right, Sarin, there is no use in crying over spilt milk. What's done is done. What happens from here on out depends on the choices we each make, and the first choice you need to hurry and make is what you're going to do about calling Grace, or not. I just looked at her, hating the fact that this entire conversation led back to that. Sometimes I wondered if they say all these meaningful things just to try and sway my decision on something. I thought about it for a minute or two, trying to decide would be the best course of action, but just as I made a decision, my pup kicked me and really hard. Ow! Son of a asterisk. Sarin, what's wrong? Olivia asked. My pup just kicked me, and really hard. What the hell is wrong with you? I shouted down at my pup, and almost as if he or she was answering me, he or she kicked again and was moving all over the place. What is wrong with you? I shouted again. I received an answer with a blow to my kidney, or was it my spleen? I had no idea, but it hurt like a star. There was no denying that my pup already had super strength. Just then, the doorbell rang, making stop me complaining. The three of us looked at each other. Are you guys expecting anyone? William asked us and we both shook our head. You? Olivia asked and he shook his head. Sarin, did you order something online? I haven't ordered anything in over a month, I answered. The doorbell rang again. I'll get it. William walked out of the room and went to the door. As soon as I heard open, what I heard next made my heart stop. Where is she, Lorenzo? Chapter 63. Jasper's POV. I was at work catching up on some contracts that needed my signature and corporate meetings that I had put off while searching for Sarin. I personally hated working on weekends, but I needed to get as much work done as possible. Plus, I needed to get away from Leila. I wanted to ban her from my floor, but Kendrick and Jason talked me out of it, saying it would be too suspicious and it would cause unnecessary drama. I wasn't sure if they were right, or if they just enjoyed seeing me trying to avoid her like the plague. I went with the latter. As I was working, Svetlana came in. And I don't mean she teleported like she normally does, she actually walked in the front door and up to the elevator to my office according to the reception desk. Svetlana, this isn't like you, I tell her as she comes into my office. Well, it is not like I can teleport in front of humans, that would be very bad for all of us, she said. And here I thought you didn't care about the consequences of using magic so openly. Pish posh, I may be a prideful dark witch alpha, but I am no fool. I do not wish any harm to the supernatural world. Where would I get my business from? Humans? Please. Humph, I never expected that from you, I tell her and lean back in my chair. What can I say, I am full of surprises. Indeed you are. Now, why are you here? I think it is time you fetched your mate Alpha, her due date is fast approaching, and you need to make amends with her and soon. I guess there's no time like the present. Do you need me to go with you? No, this is something I need to do on my own. Just do me a favor, and make sure Leila isn't anywhere in the office. Lately, a couple of security guards have SP0TTED her lurking around the building. I would not be here, let alone have used the front door, if she were nearby, Alpha. Just be sure, I can't have her ruining my reunion with Sarin. She's not here, at least not now. We should both be leaving just in case she does show up. I nodded my head and we both headed out. Svetlana left first, and thankfully security said that they haven't seen Leila. I got into my car and made my way to Sarin's condo. It was time to get my girl back and nothing was going to stop me. I drove the 15 minutes to the condo and parked in the parking garage where there was visitors parking. I double-checked the unit number and took the elevator to the right floor. I knew for a fact that they were all home since Lazarus said he never saw them leave. I sent him home since his job was over. I stepped out of the elevator and walked around looking for the unit number. 108, 109, 110, 111, I stopped in front of the door and took a deep breath. I thought about the fact that I came empty-handed, but then again, I knew that buying her a gift wouldn't be what she would want. Sarin wasn't all that into flowers, and I knew she would probably blast me with telepathic powers, so I guess it was a good thing I came empty-handed. Was I ready to get handed to me by my girl? Hell no, I was not, but was I willing to take it every blow she wanted to give me? Hell yes. I took a deep breath, and finally mustered up the courage to ring the doorbell. I waited a minute, but no one answered, so I rang it again. A few seconds later, the door opened, and I was faced with Wayne, or should I Lorenzo? His face when he saw me said it all. For someone who's been alive as long as he has, he sure had a SHTTY poker face. I didn't wait for him to say anything and cut right to the point. Where is she, Lorenzo? I'm sorry, but I think you have the wrong house. My name is not Lorenzo, my name is Wayne. Cut the bullsh, T. I know it's you. I've already proven it. Now tell me where Sarin is. Sir, you have the wrong I didn't wait for him to finish that sentence and pushed past him. Sarin! I shouted for her and looked around. I had to admit, this condo was pretty nice. Sarin, where are you? Sir! Please, you have the wrong. I grabbed Lorenzo by the throat and lifted him in the air. I'm not going to tell you again, Lorenzo. Cut the bullshit and tell me where my mate is. I growled. The next thing I knew, I was hit by some kind of force that shot me across the living area. I looked up and saw her across the way. Sarin. Sarin's POV. After forcing Jasper off of William, I just stood there completely frozen. How did he find me? Why did he find me? Did I hear him correctly? Did he call me his mate? I watched as he stood to his feet and he just looked at me. There was so much sorrow and hurt in his eyes. Sarin, I heard him say my name and he tried to come near me. I pushed him back with my power. Baby, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not here to hurt you, he wasn't lying. How did you find us? William asked him. That's not important. Jasper shouted at him. I'm here for her and my pup. He looked at me, but he didn't say anything. We just stared at each other and I didn't know what to do at that point. I had to fight everything in me not run into his arms because I missed him so much. I wonder if that's why my pup was acting all crazy a few minutes ago. He or she could sense Jasper nearby. Sarin, I know you can hear my thoughts. Dearest, I need you to listen to me. Oh my God, he called me dearest. Did that mean? Baby, I'm so sorry for what I did to you when I lost my memories of you. Not being able to recognize you didn't give me the right to hurt you the way that I did, and I'm so sorry. When you rejected me the day you left the pack, I felt a pain like no other and it nearly killed me. My rejection almost killed him. Even when I didn't have any memory of you, your rejection and you leaving our pack is what made me realize that you were my mate. And even without any knowledge of you, I fell in love with you, again. I've been searching for you for months, dearest. Then, by some sheer force of luck, the dark witch who cast the spell on me gave me back my memories. What? I finally said after hearing his thoughts. Sarin, I have my memories back, he said out loud. But how? Olivia asked next to me. You must be Olivia, Jasper said to her. Svetlana gives her regards. Svetlana. Oh, that Russian snake, sorry excuse of a wit. Wait, are you saying she reversed the memory spell? She did, Jasper replied. But why? Because she figured out who Sarin is, or rather what she is. Plus, Alessandro visited her looking for Sarin. Oh dear, Jasper just shook his head and looked back at me. Dearest, drop the force field, please. No, prove to me that you have your memories back. Prove to me that this isn't some trick. I shouted at him and pushed him back further. Ask me anything you want, he replied. When's my birthday? October 3. What's my favorite color? White, though I still don't think it's a color. My parents' names? Gideon and Megan, he replied lifting an eyebrow at me. What's my wolf's name? Callie, and before you ask, she's pink with diamond eyes. What did you promise me 8 years ago? I promised you that when you became big and strong, that you could keep me, forever. Hearing him say those words forced the tears that I was holding back to finally fall. Sarin, drop the force field. I lowered the shield and Jasper came to me because I was too afraid to move. I looked up at him when he was right in front of me. His beautiful teal eyes and handsome features were just as mesmerizing as ever. Jasper lifted his hand and gently caressed my cheek, and I instantly felt the sparks upon contact. Our bond was there. I leaned my face into his hand and the sparks became stronger and tears became heavier. "Dearest, I'm so sorry," he whispered with a broken voice. I opened my eyes and saw that Jasper was also crying. "Jasper, is it really you?" I asked with fat tears were streaming down my face as I reached to touch him but froze. What, this was all a dream? What if I touched him and he wasn't really here? Even though I felt his touch on me, this could all just be my subconscious. "It's me, baby," he replied and leaned his face into my hand that was still hanging in the air. I felt the tingles on my hand when his face touched it. This isn't a dream. It's not a dream. I'm here and I'm back. God, baby, I'm so sorry Sarin, he said, completely cupping my cheeks and kissing me hard. It sent chills across my body I hadn't felt in so long, and I knew then that this wasn't a dream. Jasper was here, and he was himself again. I cried into the KSS and wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him impossibly close. Feeling his LPS again was something I never thought I would get to experience again. Callie was howling in pure joy and yipping in happiness. Jasper tried to pull away from me, but I kept him there until my lungs were on fire. When we finally pulled away from each other, we kept our LPS close and our foreheads touching. "Jasper, oh my God, Jasper!" I cried and hugged him. He buried his face into the crook of my neck. I felt his teardrops, and his body was practically shaking as he hugged me. I had never seen Jasper cry before. "Baby, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I love you so much, Sarin. I never meant to hurt you. Please, dearest, please forgive me, please tell me you still love me." I couldn't answer him. I was too overcome by emotions that I just cried. I cried like a baby as I held onto his neck. I felt him pull back a little, but instead of completely pulling away from me, Jasper got on his knees and rested his head on top of my swollen stomach. "Jasper," I felt him place kisses on it. With every kiss he placed, our pup kicked in return. I covered my mouth with one hand to keep from myself from crying out loud. I placed my other on his shoulder as he hugged my stomach and laid his face against it. Jasper was still crying and so was I. Jasper loved our pup, and our pup loved him. We just stayed like that and didn't say anything for quite some time. Eventually, being on my feet for that long started to hurt, so I made Jasper get up, and we moved to my room to talk in private. But instead of sitting with me comfortably on the bed, Jasper made me sit down, and he got down on his knees. "Jasper, what are you doing? Get up." "No, I don't deserve to stand in front of you right now, let alone sit comfortably. I'm going to stay on my knees until you say that you forgive me. I hurt you, Sarin, not just emotionally but physically. My actions could have caused our baby harm, and now I have to live with that regret for the rest of my life. But I'm not just going to show up out of the blue and stake my claim on you. You rejected me, and I don't blame you for that. I'm going to stay on my knees until I've earned your forgiveness. I'm not even going to ask you to take back your rejection, because everyone knows that I don't deserve your love anymore, not after what I did." "Jasper, get up," I said and pulled on his arms, but he wouldn't budge. "Jasper, what happened wasn't your fault. You were under the influence of dark magic. But everyone told me who you were, even Blade knew who you were, but I didn't listen. I let the dark magic consume me and sway my decisions. I let it get the best of me, and in doing so, I hurt you. The most precious person in my entire universe. I broke my promise to you, and for that, I'm so sorry. I can't even put into words how sorry I am for what I did. Jasper, stop it, get up and sit next to me. No. Please, for me, I said to him sweetly. Jasper looked up at me and I just smiled. That's not fair, you know I can't deny you when you use that voice. That's how I know that you're really you. Now get up and sit, we have a lot to discuss. Jasper forced himself to his feet and sat next to me on the bed. We spent the next few hours talking about what happened and why the Dark Witch changed her mind and reversed the spell. What really made my blood boil was when Jasper explained to me who was behind all of this. Callie was practically roaring in my head that she wanted out so she could go kill Leila. Jasper even explained that she was working with Kale and Emma and that they were the ones behind the human kidnappings. I wanted to vomit when he told me all of this. What the hell did Kale expect to accomplish by sending fake rogues to attack us? I asked in shock. According to Svetlana, she said that the plan was to kidnap you and take you back to Blood Moon. What? Is Kale that desperate? No more than Leila is trying to get me to herself, Jasper replied. Does she hate me that much? Seriously? I never did anything to her. I even gave her a pass for trying to kill me once already. About that, Jasper said, and I slapped my hand to my mouth. Too late for secrets, dearest, Michelle told me everything. What? Oh, that traitor. Don't be mad at her. I still didn't have my memories at the time, so I had no idea that there was any beef between you and Leila until Kendrick told me that she was jealous of you. When he mentioned something happening between you three, I commanded Michelle to tell me. It only further solidified Kendrick's assumption that Leila was behind all of this. I can't believe her, I said and crossed my arms. Jasper rubbed my shoulders to comfort me, and I just punched him in the chest. Ow, what was that for? Ask me anything you want, he replied. Ow, what was that for? You should have listened to Milan and Jason and just banished her. Jasper smiled and shook his head. What's so funny? Milan said the same thing to me, again, when I didn't have my memories. When did you get your memories back? A few weeks ago, and let me tell you, getting them back, and then remembering the horrible SHT I did to you was the biggest slap to the face. I completely lost control and destroyed our room. Dr. Andrews had to give me some kind of C0 tail of drugs to prevent me from killing someone, even our friends and family. Jasper, you're better than that. Not after realizing what had happened between us. Sarin, I wanted to kill myself remembering how I had hurt you. I swear to the moon goddess and every other higher power that exists in the world I felt like the biggest piece of SHT that has ever existed. I did the one thing I promised to never do, and it ate me up alive. I couldn't sleep for at least a week, Blade was constantly restless, and Leila won't quit. Wait, what? She's still trying to pursue you. Yet, no one other the ranked members and our parents know that I have memories back. Everyone else in the pack is still under the impression that I don't remember you and I want to keep it that way, for a little while. What? Why? I want to punish Leila for what she did to me, to us, to our family. How? Jasper went on to explain what his plans were, and to say that I was shocked was an understatement. It made me wonder if this was indeed the same Jasper I loved and cherished. His plan was cold-hearted and calculated, but at the same time, I was kind of all for it. I was even more surprised when he said he wanted me to have the pup outside of the pack house and that he would bring Dr. Andrews to me instead. So, do you think you handle being Megan for a little while longer? Yeah, I mean I don't mind it, but what will your parents think? I was originally going to lie to them, but in order to really sell this, and make Leila extremely jealous, I need everyone to like you and accept you, so I'm going to tell them the truth, and we're going to have to wing it. My mom knows how to keep secrets, but Aunt Zoe doesn't, so we're going to keep the other parents in the dark but tell everyone else. Melody and Milan will know how to act, so they're going to really sell it. They'll hate you at first and then warm up to you. This is crazy, Jasper. I know it is, baby, but crazy, so we need to match her craziness. What if she tries to hurt our baby? She can't. Even if you're not my mate, I made a baby with Megan, so that baby is the heir to an alpha. If she even tries to come near you or our pup, she will be executed without prior approval from the elders, and she knows that. So, unless she is really stupid and has an actual death wish, she'll back off for a little bit. Though, I can't say you two won't have a few words with each other. I'll gladly have a few words with her, I grit my teeth. Sarin, you can't use your powers, at least not in front of other pack members, you know that, I nodded my head. What about the birth? I can't give birth here. Why not? Humans have home births all the time, dearest, it will be the exact same thing. What are you going to tell the pack when you have to step away when the time comes? I'll just say that I need time to myself. That I'm officially feeling the effect of losing my mate and that I need time to officially cope with the loss. Since everyone will know the truth before then, it will make it easier for me to get away, and give them time to prepare. What about Angelo and Michelle, are you going to tell them too? I'm going to have to. Remember, Angelo saw you at the hotel that day, he's going to remember you, and he's going to know something is up if he sees you and our pup. I just nodded my head. Besides, I think you, my sister, and Michelle will be able to bond with your newborns together. Oh, that reminds me, how are they? What did Melody have? Michelle had a little girl, her name is Leanne. Michelle had a little boy, his name is Nikolai, but everyone calls him Nick for short. Jasper showed me a picture of them, and I couldn't help but coo. The minute that I did, my pup kicked me hard. Ow! Ugh, why are you getting jealous? I asked my pup. Hey, you be nice to your mama, Jasper said, putting his hand to my stomach, and immediately I felt him or her turn and calm down. Well, now I know who he or she is going to be listening to more often. You don't know what we're having? He asked me, and I shook my head. I want it to be a surprise. That's why a lot of the baby stuff is gender neutral. Jasper looked around and saw how I had my room split up into a nursery. He went over to the crib and picked up the stuffed wolf and showed it to me. What? I needed to find some way to show our baby who their father is. Sarin, tell me, did Lorenzo and Olivia tell you that I needed to be there for the birth of our pup? They did, but only because I caught them talking behind my back and forced it out of them. Lorenzo has hidden quite a bit from me, and it's gotten quite irritating. Like what? Everything really. That our pups will be powerful primordials, even more powerful than me, that in order for me to gain all of my powers, I had to have a pup first, and that you need to be there, that the vampire will eventually find me, and who knows what else. What do you mean the vampire will eventually find you? I explained my premonition to Jasper and how William called an inner body premonition, making it that much more likely to happen. Jasper closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Jasper, I can hear your thoughts. Don't blame yourself. All of this happened because of Leila. I know, baby, but I still can't but feel responsible. Jasper, I don't think your actions did anything honestly. I think the moment she made my mark on you disappear opened the window for the vampire, so this all started because of her. But I didn't do anything to prevent it from getting worse. I got up from the bed and held his hands in mine. Jasper, did you get my letter? I did, I read it every day. Then you know that I told you not to blame yourself once you got your memories back and that I never once blamed you or hated you. Right now it's not a question of whether or not I forgive you, because you already know I do. You need to forgive yourself. I didn't have to read his thoughts for me to know that his guilt was eating him up inside. I just hoped that we could work through this together, and he could finally let go of his guilt. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.